Hi guys. So today we have got a very special guest with me, right? A person who has immense amount of experience building technology, worked not only in India but across geographies. I welcome you, Sudip, on the Memory Bits, channel, and thank you so much for taking out a little bit of time, from your so busy schedule.
Thank you very much, Rishikesh. It's very exciting to discuss more.
Yes, so I would like to, kindly throw light on, how I connected to Sudeep. So, as usual, my messages on LinkedIn, I, keep on finding the right people and, keep on texting them on LinkedIn. And sometimes I find the diamonds, and one of the diamonds is Sudeep, sitting in front of me. So, Sudeep, first of all, congratulations on a great initiative that, you are running in the form of Interview Cracker. And our audience would like to understand, what is Interview Cracker, how is it actually helping the existing the ecosystem which is there, and how far have we reached in terms of achieving our goals, vision, and all.
Super. Thank you, Rishikesh. Hello, everybody. Uh, Interview Cracker is a very interesting story where we all started I graduated as an engineer and then began my career and worked across geographies in various positions. Every stage of the journey, starting from the first year, we always had apprehensions that what happens in interviews? How do we really crack the interviews? And typically, we end up going into a stage where you appear in 4 5 interviews, out of that, two or three rejections, and then you get a one or two of those successful ones. However, may not be the dream company that you're looking for or the dream job that you're looking for. And you continue to build up your skills based on the failures or the availability of prior information from your seniors, from your colleagues, from people who have cracked it earlier. So, and this is a pretty common phenomenon across the globe, across segments, and across the experience ranges that we have. So we built up Interview Cracker with a purpose that, number one, companies that come to hire candidates or give them an opportunity to appear in interviews should not need to reject candidates because of lack of skills, at least, right? That is number one. Access to jobs, if there are not enough jobs in the market, that is something we can accept because that's a market condition, not much under control of everybody. However, for the lack of skills or lack of, say, aptitude or lack of preparation, communication, that is something we would like not to happen with candidates. So that was the purpose with which we started Interview Cracker. And we have come a long way over 2 years, where we have companies hiring on the platform on Interview Cracker from one side. And on the other side, we work all the way from colleges to prepare candidates to really be able to appear confidently without the anxiety and still be able to put forward their best foot during the interviews. For an example, even for a software programmer where we have large amount of salaries on the table, we see that sometimes candidates actually, despite being very good when not in front of interviewers, when the interview is happening, they actually do not do well in basic programming also. Now, this is something that can certainly be avoided. And our platform is something that we have built up all the way from colleges. People get to prepare using an AI system where they get instant feedbacks, not only on on their programming or the writing skills, but also the way they speak, which means a speech AI system gives them an instant feedback on the quality of the speech that is happening. So candidates become much more confident and comfortable while they are appearing in interviews after the preparation through the system, through our software system at Interview Cracker.
Yes.
Lot of gyan,
So
Rishikesh.
not Jan, but this is real problem solving actually, Sudeep. So like because we all can relate, because maybe a decade back, like when I was graduating, right, there was no such platform where I could go and basically which can give me a feedback. We were dependent on our seniors, or maybe some
Mentors.
alums. Yes. and there was a lot of variables involved. So if there is a company coming, day after tomorrow, or 3 days afterwards, I had no idea whatsoever, how will I basically answer these questions. Or because a lot of the problem, which I feel, Sudeep, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that candidates know, but they are not able to express it in the way, in which it can be understood by the people who are actually interviewing you.
Absolutely. I mean, rightly said, Rishikesh. So there are two factors that we see is becoming very important. One is being able to communicate what is there on your mind at the right time,
Yes.
not realizing later on, oh man, I should have talked about this. I knew it. Why didn't I speak about it? Right. And the second is being able to comfortably tackle questions without with lesser anxiety, that whatever question comes to you, be yourself, you bring up your strengths and respond in the best way possible. That's something in our control.
Yes. So in one way or the other, Sudeep, you have been working very closely with the education ecosystem as such, right? On one side, we talk like, there's a lot of graduates that are coming out of the colleges, and the Indian economy is growing, very fast. Like, I think last day or day before that, we touched the 4 trillion mark, GDP level. So with a growing country like this, going to become maybe the third largest, economy in the coming 1 year or 2 year, what do you think are the main problems with the current formal education system, and how can interview cracker basically help to bridge that?
I the Our interaction with the entire ecosystem is giving us two insights, Rishikesh, and whoever is really watching this. Number one, the education system, it's already doing a lot of things for the benefits of the students. So it's not, I mean, it's not right to say that we have a broken system or we don't have adequate support systems existing. A
Yes.
lot of it also depends on ourselves. For example, if I am a student and I have to appear for an interview, I may not want to wait for the last night the way I do for my exams to just figure out a few questions and say I'll be able to crack it. Right? That's not. I think that is something that is it's a multi-stakeholder ecosystem, and
Yes.
that is where we all have a play, where whatever contributions we can make to build up the ecosystem and strengthen the ecosystem, a to really bring out the confidence that exists in the entire youth, that we all are part of the Indian the youth, that is a very large segment of our
Even I and
population.
you are part of that.
Of course I am and you are. So uh, number one is bringing out that confident approach to addressing whatever is thrown at you during, not only during interviews but even during jobs or throughout the college life or whatever, right? And we have lots of it. It's just that with our friend circle we are so comfortable and we are bonds everywhere. But the moment it comes to really giving I mean something at work, somewhere there seems to be, oh, this is work, that is personal life, and so I need to separate that and segregate that and do differently. So that is number one. Number two is that I think we have tremendous support with the internet percolation that has happened, because information is now a given, that every person on this in this subcontinent has access to enough information. Now, how do we really filter out that information and make sense for the purpose that we all are going to address? For example, if there's a college administration, right? They already have access to several assessment systems, several ways to figure out skill gaps, several contributors from their internal system as well as support system outside, where better job training, job placement support is also available, right? Now that is a given nowadays. What is what is still missing is that there's a huge gap in what we coming from the industry side expect from students to be vis-a-vis what the students think they are bringing to the table. There's a huge gap, and
Yes.
the primary gap exists in two formats. Number one is the readiness to jump into a game and start working from day zero. Just the way, if we are thrown into a game of cricket, and we all are cricket lovers, right? So potentially you will at least hit the ball or bat somewhere and make something out of it, right? But when we are given into a job or a internship or some kind of profile to work for, then we actually get into a very nervous situation. Oh, how do I do this? What should I do? What will my boss think? My boss is not good. All those things creep up, and then we get into a very like secluded place, which may not be in our. We may not be able to put forward our best foot, right? So there is a huge gap that this is where I think we already have experienced this in our lives throughout the careers, and the students are just coming out, whether they are like from their third year or graduation all the way till about 5 6 years till they are mature to understand the nitty gritties of how they have to carry themselves forward. I think there's a huge gap that we all can get together and fulfill. And the number of youth that we have, I think we all have a play to really bring that up together.
Yes. Sudeep, what do you think? Like, so I think day before yesterday, I was talking to Muthu, who has been the ex-CIO for various companies. He was telling Rishikesh, this mismatch of expectations was existent 30 years back and even now. So, what has continued, what do you think can be the reasons that, is still the things which are taught inside the colleges, maybe not the things which are taught, but the way in which they are being taught inside the colleges. And I'm talking for colleges in general. I'm not talking about the crema del, the layer kind of colleges, is actually making difficult for the students to get a job inside the market. And the second thing is that, don't you think that even the organizations have a role to play here in terms of engaging with platforms like Interview Cracker, and 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 in a way through that platform also engaging with the colleges?
Yeah, so Rishikesh, the way we have experienced this whole gap is very interesting. When we were in college, we were in a very secured environment, right? I mean, what's life there? It's college, it's friends, hostels, professors, eating, having fun, spending time together. But it's a very cozy and comfortable environment, right?
Yes.
Fearless. I mean, whatever you do, you can walk around in pajamas and still be the most confident person on earth, right? However, when we are actually in an environment of a job, there we are in a space where we are not in that comfortable zone, right? And it's not that friendly circle as well, because there are all the competition is very high. It's not just studying and scoring well. The competition is like very very intense everywhere. Even if you have a two people team, it's always like, I need to get a better performance hike next year. I need to get some better words from my boss and so on. So that is from the, I think the situation on the environment changes when we come out into a job world. The second thing that we see is if you come to the other side of the table where you are hiring either freshers or even for that matter senior folks, we see that our expectations are somewhere embedded in the way we want our subordinates to do things. That I want my work to be done like this. And this is, I think, more of a, I'm not sure if this can be truly solved, because it's very uh, i mean uh, the way it is defined into a human system, unless there are company systems in place which brings more structure to this, which some of the fine companies are doing. uh, it becomes very difficult to bring in a new person, settle down, and just work in a very structured format, irrespective of where the person, he or she, is getting into. So I believe what we have experienced is this gap will exist. However, with better preparation of students or better preparation of candidates who are appearing in the jobs, like via Interview Cracker, people who get into jobs like sales jobs or marketing jobs or digital marketing jobs, where the number of jobs are higher, right?
Yes.
The people who go through our system sometimes are lesser pressurized. They feel lesser pressure when they are actually in the job.
Yes.
While people who do not go through our system, maybe some of them, crumble within a couple of days and say, boss, this is not for me. I'm walking out. Right.
Yes.
So that difference certainly brings in on the way the candidates or the people start handling the situations. So I
This is
think that is
exactly, Sudeep. This is exactly what I'm going to tell after you had ended, that interview cracker is not only contributing, for these candidates to crack the interview, but also in a way also contributing for their performance once they enter into the system.
Absolutely. So they know what to expect, and
Yes.
once you understand that, see, there will be pressure, and the companies exist to make not only business, but the whole ecosystem is to bring value to everybody, right? Now we have to figure out how do we fit into these systems and how do we evolve till a point where an equilibrium is established. And I cannot say that, boss, I'm breaking off, I'm breaking down and I don't want to continue, right? We have to figure out, at least if at a selfish motive, that, boss, I have to survive. Now, to survive, how do I deal with the situation around me? And that is where interview cracker comes in. And through the way we conduct the automated systems, and we give them situational systems as well. That, boss, somebody is really harsh on you, shouting at you, and you just have a couple of 20 seconds to decide how will you respond,
Yes.
right? So you figure out that how your mind responds, how your mouth responds while speaking, how all your senses actually collaborate and respond to a system. So candidates become much better prepared to tackle situations when they are in the job. And then, of course, if they leave, they leave for better opportunity. They should leave for better opportunities, not because they are crumpling down.
That's so relatable, Sudeep, because I still remember, 2012 when I passed out of my college, and entire 2012 to 13, I think for 2 years, I was very, very poor at my responses to what my boss was actually telling me. And if some tool would have been like this, if I would have been, kind of groomed in my college, maybe, to manage my emotions, or, to increase my emotional quotients in some way, or to manage my responses, I think those 2 years I would have done a little bit better, which I learned over a period of 2 years from my experiences, could have been done even, in the final year of my college. So I think interview cracker is really going to be helpful because it's completely relatable to what I have felt.
Yeah,
Um,
and then we lose sleep. We get sleepless nights, right? If there's any disturbance in our life, especially that happens even when we grow old. But in the early phases, even a career movement here and there, the boss shouting on you, a subordinate not dealing well with you, or
yes,
even the people who are reporting to you not working very well with you. We get sleepless nights. So those
yes.
are some things that are certainly, not only we can be trained to handle it better, but at
Yes.
least we know what potentially my response will be and how do I manage my response better.
Right. Now, Sudeep, coming on the market front, like, there has been a number of platforms, won't say many, but there are a few platforms, which are really, trying to solve this problem in the way that you are doing. May not be the exact way, but in a little bit, kind of a thing. So, how do you differentiate yourself from the other, players? Won't say competitors, because there's a huge space to capture upon. So, I won't say, these people are competitors, but from the other players. And what is your vision in the coming 5 or 10 years? Where do you want to take this company to?
Super. So this is a very interesting question that bugs us all the while. Uh, the way the system right now we are part of, there are a few aspects that we have to be clear of. Number one, there's competition. Certainly there's competition. Are there large companies which may come into the play and do something extraordinary? There are already companies which are large enough and trying to do quite a few interesting things in the space. Are there small startups which are coming up and doing something extraordinary? Yes, there are. The play here is not only based on what solution we build up, but how do we do a go to market at the right time and to the right places, which means getting the stakeholders to work with you is a bigger challenge than building up a solution for in the space we are in,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And getting them to relate that, see, they will obviously have options. For example, assessments have been there for quite a long time, right? Now getting our models where colleges have to start working with us, their students get benefit, their administration gets benefit, so that their placements increase, the skill gaps decrease, And at the same time, the companies which were, for example, even at any given month on interview cracker platform, there are hundreds of positions which are not fulfilled, right? And that's because of lack of enough good candidates. And more than, I mean, at a very ballpark, if you see, a very large number of candidates get rejected because of lack of preparation. Sometimes even basic questions, have you read about our company well from our website? So
Yes.
candidates are not even prepared for that in some of the instances, right?
Yes.
So at that level, the first thing that we are doing at Interview Cracker is bringing in a category of ensuring that speech based competency is developed in the candidates, which means the soft skills part where the communication is very, very comfortably taken care of by the candidate, right? And it automated, so they don't have to depend and talk in front of others, practicing interviews or trying to figure out how my response is, because that's an uncomfortable situation. I don't want to expose my weaknesses in front of, say, if I'm talking to you, right?
Yes.
But if I'm
Yes.
talking to an AI system and if I am just getting a feedback wherever I am sitting,
Yes.
I love to do that. Second is, so speech-based system is where what we have introduced in a very strong way, and even companies are loving it because before they interview the candidate, they can hear out the speech of the candidate. They can see the automated ratings of that speech, and some of the cases where the communication is extremely important, like the sales roles, they can actually reject or accept a candidate just based on that, even before they call for an interview,
Yes.
right? The second aspect is the going to the market and approaching the entire ecosystem stakeholders in a way where all of us get benefited. It should not be, I mean, we are not looking at it just as a one way street where either the companies come and they post their jobs, right? And we are
Yes.
not also looking only for candidates to start looking for jobs. What we are looking at is a holistic platform like a conveyor belt where we have preparations going on for continuously, and from the other side we have companies who can pick up the candidates, right? So that is one of the aspects which has played in our favor so far. uh, and it's going to be, I mean, it's going to be challenging because number one is that the as the number of the scale that the scale grows, that is where we find that more, I mean, sometimes even collaborations are helping. I mean, say for example, there are, I mean, software systems where, so we don't do, say for example, we are not an ERP company, right? But if there
Yes.
are software systems that exist where we can plug in with an ERP system and still proceed, those are
Yes.
collaborations that certainly works out specifically in some of the cases, right? So collaborations are another thing that is working well in this ecosystem. And third is a very important thing that we have to stay ahead of the curve in terms of not only technology, but also the post sales support for the software systems that are existing. So that's one of the fears that we have experienced in the market where, I mean, people shy away from looking into newer software systems because post sale support, suddenly the company should not vanish, right? Or the
Yes.
salespeople, they have sold the software, they've got the installations done, and then now you are on your own, right? So that is something where we are ensuring very well, and so it plugs our whole system very tightly into their existing and blends it with the way the people work there. And this has been working fairly well with us so far. And going ahead, it's going to be challenging, not only challenging but very exciting as well, because that really pricks our brains. And how do we, I mean, stay uh, not necessarily always a pioneer, but at least ahead of the curve.
Yes.
And of course, we are backed by the state of the art AI technology, so that, I mean, we can capitalize the entire AI portfolio of whatever is feasible for Interview Cracker for the benefit of not only the candidate, but the companies that hire from the candidate pools that we are creating via colleges. I mean, from the time they are in colleges, from the time they are in their job, and then they come back to the platform to apply again. So all through and through, the technology is really, I mean, a partner, I mean, as strong as a co-founder for us.
Absolutely. So Sudeep, right now the main market that you're focusing upon is the colleges, like the college students, in the final or the pre-final year, or you are also focusing on those professionals who are already 5 6 years experienced or 2 3 years experienced, and they're working and they're looking for a job switch?
Right. So our job, the job market that we cater to primarily starts from the internship, 0 years, and a little bit of experienced categories also. Right. So the fulfillment of all these jobs, where since on our platform we see many jobs go unserved at any given point in time, the fulfillment requires us to work from the college time so that the internship interns are also job ready. The job, I mean, the final year students, when they have to do the 6 months internship, they are also ready. And then when they come into the industry at the zero experience level after their 6 month internship, they are also ready. And after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, when they switch jobs or when the newer jobs are available to them, they that time also they should be coming back to us. So that is the kind of area that we are focusing on.
I got it. Now, Sudeep, I will take you, a little bit back in your, in your kind of, early ages, and would
When
like
I
to
when
ask
I
you a
did not when I did not have a halo on me, right?
question. No, but a lot of the viewers will want to also understand, because there's a lot of culture that has been building up inside the colleges of becoming entrepreneurs from day one. Maybe earlier, people used to think that let's work for 5 6 or 10 years and then think of building, but now people are more than eager to start something of their own. What actually is, inspired you, or maybe transpired you, to become an entrepreneur, leaving behind a very well established job and maybe earning a very good amount of salary?
Yeah, so I think Rishikesh, that's a for me, it's the I mean it's the midlife crisis, right? I started business. I mean, after about 8 or 9 years of experience, at least in the industry, in the international eco space, in the ecosystem. Uh, what I experienced was from college days. I mean, when we graduated, there were quite a few exciting things happening in the Western world, like the dot com burst was happening, and then suddenly new companies came up, and by the time we were in the space where we were looking for jobs from campus, so campus recruitment is where we picked up the first job. We already found that some of the companies had offices in US as well as in India, right? So that is where the first curiosity started, that what is this I mean, what is this equation? I mean, they have offices in two countries. How does it benefit them? Where does it come from, right? And from then, the whole equation that there is an opportunity of capitalizing your talent to actually serve the huge gaps that exist in the market has been building up. And initially there was a lot of hesitation in terms of not only whether we will succeed if I jump out of the job, and whether it will actually make sense. Nobody in my family has done business earlier, so how will I even think about making it successful, right? So that hesitation was always there. However, when there was a time when that hesitation was overpowered by the urge to really contribute back with the talent that we are carrying, right?
Yes.
And that, coupled along with the opportunities in our country that suddenly opened up, I mean, immense amounts of not only commercial benefits that we could make out of businesses, but to the contribution to of the scales that we can make,
Yes.
right? And both of these are, I mean, very important in at a broad level, very important to contribute towards your confidence, that when you get onto doing a business, number one is that can you make commercial success out of this thing. We can say money is not very important and all, but unless you really make a certain amount of business value out of it, the confidence level of any business person is not very high, right? And the second thing is, if it is growing consistently with a value backed into the ecosystem, whatever wherever you're working in, right? So throughout my journey, I've got opportunities, or we built opportunities around us so that we can contribute at a larger scale. So whether it is a B2B system or a B2C system, if each of them actually uh, boosts our whole, I mean, that spark in us, right? Ki maza aa gaya. What we have done has really created a change or an impact in somebody else sitting behind beside me, right? That is phenomenally high. So the first few highs were enough to carry you on for many years to come. So that is how the evolution happened. And now what we see is that the confidence level of the people, or the or the students even in their first year is so high that boss, if we can do that from, I mean, by the time you are graduating, you already have a successful company behind you, right?
Yes.
So that urge itself is sufficient to keep them to start a business, right? Uh, However, I think that that balance has to be there. That while studying, do not, I mean, not to leave college everywhere just because some people are famous because they left college.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
that is something we should be careful about. Uh, and if you, I mean, if even a fraction of our students can actually build successful businesses, we have many employers coming out in the market.
Yes. Absolutely.
So
So Sudeep,
that,
one of the things that was coming to my mind is that since there's a lot of startup culture that is going on, I've had an observation that the attrition level inside the companies, or the average tenure of an employee staying with a particular company, is going down drastically with time. Like, even this is valid for very good companies as well, which actually say that they have a very good work culture. In these cases, like, talking from the employer side, what are the steps that you think that an employer should take so as to make the workplace dynamic? And because a lot of responsibility lies on them as well now, like, workplace dynamic, and how to make sure that the employees work in a longer term, give them some sort of an ownership, maybe entrepreneurial kind of things. So any suggestions that you have for the companies, and how can they
yeah,
actually?
so we are actually going through a similar phase, Rishikesh. So an apt question at this point. Uh, what we see is, number one, there is no fixed model that we should be imposing on a system. For example, I cannot take a Western model and suddenly say that everything will fall in the same category in the Indian context. Uh, the second is that dynamism, or building up processes and, I mean, systems which do not are not acceptable by the various generations of employees we are working with. That has to be ensured, that we do not try to put a blanket cover everybody. Like, you and I may be happy with, I mean, I'm putting you into my same age category. You and I may be in a zone where we are okay with a certain type of process or working culture, right? Or we blend together because of certain factors. But a youngster coming into the system would expect a lot of different things, right? The way we speak with them, the way we communicate with them, the way we pressurize them, the way we expect work to be done, everything is different from their perspective, right? So what we are experiencing is that, first of all, we need to really isolate that what type of company are we, stage of the company are we in at the moment, right?
Yes.
So I cannot have a system which is valid for a large company fit onto a small startup or
Yes.
a growing startup. So startup also will go the first, I mean, the first few growth stages, then the next mature stage, then suddenly a lot of people join us, and then we grow to a next stage. So here, I think one of the things that we see very clearly is, if we can actually build up a system which evolves with the stages of the person's growth,
Yes.
right? A very simple example: if I talk a lingo which is not what a fresher is expecting from us, right? There's a huge gap. So suddenly we will become like we are oldies and they are youngsters, right?
Yes.
And what we see is that it's not about the age. I think it is the way the engagement happens between us. That is what is important.
Yes.
So, so this is something that, at least an interview cracker, we are taking care very carefully. Where when the person starts working with us, they don't see a blanket process kind of a thing. What they see is that, for even an external customer, the way they are talking or the way they are interacting, that is groomed in a way where they can easily fit into that whole ecosystem. And as they grow, we take care of the way their aspirations are. Salaries is something that has been one of the factors where when one statistic I was reading is that more than 50% of attrition is because of better opportunities. Now, that is something, of course, we cannot always control within a company, right? However, However, we also see that if the culture is very strong, then for a few fraction point of salary rise, people do not leave you,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Provided that culture is so strong that you are really looking like a strongly bond company.
Yes.
Every individual is bond with you, right? in the smaller stages of the company, we have the opportunity to create that kind of a bond,
Yes.
because it's almost like one to one with every person on this, like a family. But as we grow, then the systems have to evolve in a different way, because then of course we won't have one to one interaction with everybody every day. Maybe occasionally you will have enough time to even talk to each one of them, and then as the company is growing, so it's not a one thing fits all, one process fits all. So we are experiencing that if we evolve along with the stage of the company and the type of people who are working with us, and we also are adjustable to all those changes, so that is giving us a lot of ideas on how to make things better, and then take the best practices across the industries of how, I mean, the other companies are doing it, and then, I mean, amalgamation of all the best practices and putting it into your system. So,
Yes.
and a lot of it, just like a startup, it's like a hustle, right? You evolve almost every week. You're changing one thing. Oh, this is the way. This is not right. Let's change it.
Yes. So Sudeep, my last question, and is that like how is the team, and how did you manage, to basically keep the team motivated? I know every startup, has to go through hard phases, good phases. How do you keep the team motivated, and how do you make sure that they are, bonded together with the vision that you have for the company?
Uh, a very difficult thing to do, Rishikesh, specifically because what version we carry may not be always the same as what the person, I mean, the person we are working with also carries. So one of the thing that we have tried in our company is that, number one, we are a remote first company. Okay, which means we actually have people working across from across India and sometimes outside of India also. However, we have built up a system where we can still collaborate and very tightly work together, right? Uh, so that gives us one advantage, that we do not really have to. We can avoid Bangalore's commute problem. That gives us 2 hours of free time to work with. I mean, to be with our families. But more than that, I think that gives us the flexibility to hire the best people from across the geographies. And what we see
Yes.
is that talent is what we say, no, that there's enormous talent everywhere. The only
Yes.
thing is that we don't even get an opportunity to access them when we need them. So
Yes.
this remote first is one of the pillars we have worked so far. Going forward, as we grow more, maybe we'll have to relook at that and see how we blend remote and I mean on-site work. I mean on-premise work. But at the moment, it's very heavily towards remote work. Number two is that the team, from day zero, we have built it up in a way where, and we started from like just the founders, where three of us are founders, and we built it up in a way where we really look up to them as the people who are helping us, right? Because I mean, see, eventually it's not the founders. I mean, we don't believe the founder builds a company. The team is what builds a company, right? Because
Yes.
their contribution is much heavier and much more deeper than what we do, right?
Yes.
And every hour that they put in, I think that's phenomenal value to the company. And this is something that we have nurtured from day zero, that every person who is working with us is as important as anyone on other person on the team, right?
Yes.
This second factor has given us the confidence that we will stick together and stay together even in downs and ups. So when there
Yes.
are upturns, each one of us benefits out of that. When there are downturns, we stand together and face it, right?
Yes.
Again, this advantage we have been able to capitalize because of the size of the team, which is still growing and small, right? As we grow, we will have to relook at this culture, but the opportunity here is that maybe this core team becomes the foundation of the larger team, I mean, which
Yes.
stays together for a very long time till we really make it a big successful company.
Absolutely, Sudeep. And I know you, a little bit personally as well. You are a very great person and a leader to work with, and I'm pretty sure that your entire team gets that kick in the morning once they have a talk with you, because I know so I actually
Thankfully, you
disclose
did
one of
not say you get you they get to kick you in the morning. Therefore, remote first, okay?
yeah. So just for the viewers, I have to tell one thing about all the guests who come here, which you will not know, is that Sudeep, in the day, keeps on meeting with different people, keeps on meeting with different stakeholders, and the actual work that he does on the tech and all those things, actually begins after 6 o'clock. Am I right, Sudeep?
Absolutely. So engineers I mean by definition are nocturnals, right? I mean every
Yes.
coding person on this I mean whoever is the audience would
Yes.
actually appreciate that. I mean our wake up, I mean we don't open our eyes before 11 or 12 a.m. I mean 12 noon.
Right.
Anything that happens after 8 p.m. is what we call as programming.
Yes. Absolutely. So Sudeep, we from the from Memory Bits, wish Interview Cracker, all the best, and we are really proud to see the company working very hard, to make the lives of the candidates and also the companies easier and better, and also in a way improving the overall productivity of these candidates inside the companies as well. So we wish you all the best, and thanks so much again, for being a part of this session.
Thank you very much, Rishikesh. It is really lovely talking to you every time we meet. And I wish I could match up on the beard with you. One day it will.
Surely, Sudeep.
Thank you very much, Rishikesh.
Thanks so much, sir. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.